Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? The Flyers lost a home game. That is right, you heard it correctly. The Flyers actually lost the game at the Wells Fargo Center. They fell to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 1-0. And listen, they played a decent game. They did. For them to hold Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman, Braden Point, Tyler Johnson, for the Flyers to hold those type of players off the score sheet, that's their job. That's their job. And one fluky goal by Maroon ends up being enough to secure a victory. The Tampa Bay Lightning, are they a better team? Do they have more talent on their roster? Absolutely. Can the Flyers still beat them in a regular season game at home in the middle of January? Sure, no doubt about it. But in this one, it came down to a fluky goal where the puck is in the air, a defenseman hits it down, it falls 2 feet in front of Carter Hart, Maroon's going hard to the net, and he finds a way to poke it through. Now, as a whole, even though the Flyers had a surge in the third period where there was some momentum and there were some better chances for them and there was a power play as well, even though the Flyers had a late surge, I still think overall you saw why the Tampa Bay Lightning are so good. You saw their skill on display, and there were moments specifically in that second period where the Flyers were just on their heels and Tampa Bay was moving the puck in the zone and creating chances. Not that they had a million grade A scoring chances and Tampa Bay just destroyed the Flyers, but if you watch that game fully, you saw plenty of moments where the skill level of Tampa Bay was on display, and you saw their depth and their speed, and you can see why that they are a threat to be a legit contender for the Stanley Cup once the postseason comes, if they don't get swept by, say, I don't know, the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round or anything. There's plenty to talk about when it comes to this game, but before we do, we need to hear a word from my sponsor, SeatGeek. Are you looking to buy tickets to go to a Flyers game, a Sixers game, or any game that you would like to go to? What if I told you I can give you money off of those tickets? Because if you use the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page, you will receive $20 off of your total purchase. That is parking. That is beer. It's a no-brainer. Use the promo code BROADS today. So obviously, there's not a lot to talk about when it comes to scoring goals, right? There was one goal, and it was the Maroon one. But when you looked at this team and you saw the way that they fought against a top talented team in this league, you got to tip your cap for their work ethic. Now, I saw one reporter, Kevin Durso of 97.3 ESPN, and one thing he stated is, if this loss happened where the Flyers did not just come off of a 1-4-1 road trip, maybe it wouldn't feel as bad, right? So, for example, say the Flyers won 4 of 6 games or 6 of 8 games, and then you lose to Tampa Bay like this, you can shake it off and say, okay, listen, we played fine. Tampa Bay got a nice lucky bounce there where they took advantage of it. We'll move on to the next game. But because they went on a really ugly stretch and because they fell from third in the Metropolitan to that second wild card spot, now they're battling with other teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, it definitely feels a lot worse just based off the circumstances. And now as you move forward in the season and now you're at that point where the standings are where they are, you know what teams are bad, you know what teams are good. Like the schedule and the standings are starting to mold themselves, right? So now that that's happening, the points mean more. For example, right? If this type of loss happened in September or October, it's different. It's a different story. Now that it's January, we're moving through January, almost in the middle of it. Points matter more. You're in more of a dogfight for the playoffs, so things just get tighter, if you will, whether that's the players clinching, whether that's the standings and the points forming closer together, or whatever the case may be. Things matter more as the season goes on. I'm not breaking any news here. This is no hot take. But you're starting to feel differently after performances, even when the team doesn't play bad. Tampa Bay to run off 10 straight games is impressive. We know what happened last season. They even got off to a bad start in this season as well. And for them to start rolling, they're clicking on all cylinders. And they are a super scary bunch that is so talented. You look at their stats. You look at the numbers that these players are producing, the ones that I spit off at the top of this. It's crazy to think about. We, as a Flyers fan base, have been dying and screaming and just so frustrated with not having a legit legit goal scorer. We don't have that sniper. They have guys that are scoring 40 goals with their eyes closed. They have guys that are producing 100 points every single season. And they have Vasilevsky, too, who is a tremendous goaltender who came up big. Now, when I talked about that third period, the Flyers did have a power play chance where they had momentum and it just did not go their way. They did not execute. I thought Sean Couturier at times made some really good neutral zone plays, which allowed the Flyers to get a rush, but they didn't execute, of course. Claude Giroux at one point was on the left side of Vasilevsky. Well, technically Vasilevsky's right side, but when I was watching it, Claude Giroux was on the left side of him, and he had a chance, but he fumbled the puck. He wasn't able to get a good shot, so he rimmed it around the backside, and the Flyers set it up once again. Some moments stood out to me. A pipe was hit, but nothing really grade A scoring chance-wise. I thought Tampa Bay did a good job defensively. The Flyers didn't pummel them in shots, but I'll tell you one thing that you can take out of this game that's a positive. When the Flyers just beat the Washington Redskins, they killed off 5 power plays. And I said, that's not a way to live. You can't continue to put yourself in that type of hole. Well, fast forward to this game, and the Flyers actually killed off 4 power plays. And in the first period, they had to kill off a couple. And one of them was a 4-minute penalty because Travis Konechny ended up high sticking. I forget who it was. Was it Coburn? I don't remember off the top of my head who exactly he did hit with the high stick, but it was a 4-minute penalty kill, and the Flyers were able to get the puck consistently too. The Tampa Bay Lightning couldn't even set up in that one for the most part. The Flyers would continue to get the puck, continue to be pests, continue to put sticks in lanes, continue to block shots, and they were dumping the puck out of the zone. Now I'll say this: I did think this game had a good atmosphere to it. It was feisty. It was physical. You could feel the hatred, I guess. It's not Flyers Devils or Flyers Penguins. And when I say Flyers Devils, I'm talking about the Scott Stevens days, not today's Flyers Devils. But it's not the Flyers Penguins of today's game when I talk about the hatred. But you could see or sense and even feel that there was a hatred between those two teams tonight. And I think it was a good learning curve for some of these players. Not that is anything close to what it will be like in the playoffs, because it will be 10 million times more physical than that when the playoffs start, if the Flyers even make the playoffs, because they are on the brink right now. But as a whole, what I'm saying is I think it was a good learning experience for some of these players to really feel what it's like to go up against elite talent in this league. Because you look at the defensemen, right? And with Shane Gostisbehere out, Justin Braun's out, some of these players play all the time, but my point is there is a really young core on that blue line besides really Matt Niskanen. You have Freeman get caught up, Travis Sanheim. You have these young players. Ivan Provorov is definitely still considered young. And they're going up against these players in Stamkos and these studs in Kucherov, and they're realizing and gaining experience through playing. Whoa, okay, this is what it's going to be like. This is what these players are like. Not that they have zero NHL experience, but just with the way this game played out specifically, I thought that there's value in the physicality of it, the frustrating moments of it, and just the battles after the whistle. You can tell that both teams were tense, and I'm just trying to tell you that I think that it's good for some of these younger players to feel that. Travis Konechny. Now, Travis Konechny gets very emotional. I like emotion in players, but I do think at times it does cross the line, and in the first period, I thought he did that when he ended up getting that high sticking call. He's screaming the F-bomb, he's freaking out, he's throwing his hands up, he's trying to break his stick on his legs. Sometimes I think you cross the line, and I love the way Travis Konechny plays. There's no doubt about it. He plays with the force. He is an Energizer bunny out there. He chirps. He scores goals. He's a full package for the most part. So I love it, but there are times where it's like, yo, calm down. You can't allow the emotions to get the best of you all the time. I just literally discussed the Sixers and Luka Doncic because the Sixers played the same night as this game, and Luka Doncic was freaking out, and he was screaming at the refs and putting his hands up all the time. I said, look, Luka Doncic is an amazing player in the NBA. He's 20-something years old, though. He's 20 years old. He's going to be a stud. He's scoring an obnoxious amount of points. He's taken over the league by storm, but you can't let the emotions get the best of you. You can't be freaking out at the refs, throwing your hands up, crying after every single play or after every single non-call. Well, the same with Travis Konechny. Like in that moment, you high stick the guy. There's no doubt about it. What are you complaining about? Are you frustrated at yourself? Well, keep your emotions in and figure that out. But the way it looked from an outsider's perspective, it looked bad in my opinion. You literally got your stick and it hit another dude in the face and he's bleeding. It's to the point where he's bleeding and you're getting a 4-minute, right? So that's how I see it, at least. I love TK. Let's not take this the wrong way. I love TK. I can't wait to see him in the All-Star game and in the All-Star weekend. But I think he can control some of that, and that's why I think that it's meaningful to play in games like this, because you learn that about yourself, because you see that you get frustrated, you see how you handle those situations, and then you know, okay, for the next time, well, why don't I do this? Or why don't I wait to get to the box and I don't know, do something else instead of trying to break the stick over my knee and dropping the F-bombs and screaming like that. The moral of the story here in this one, there's not a lot to take away just based off of a 1-0 game where I thought for the most part Tampa Bay controlled the game, but the Flyers held in there and they had chances in the third, but all around I thought I saw the skill level of Tampa really show compared to the Flyers. When you look at Carter Hart in this one, entering the game, he has a 1.52 goals against average and a 9.45 save percentage at home. So it's really remarkable, and he continues to show that he is really solid at home, considering he only allowed 1 goal in this game. But when Vasilevsky's on the other side, giving up a goose egg and recording a shutout, yeah, it's going to be tough to win a game with 0 goals. So you don't blame Carter Hart. He did what he needed to do. He allowed 1 goal, and it was on a very fluky, grindy type goal where the puck bounces Tampa Bay's way. But listen, when you're a good team, when you're rolling, when you're winning 10 straight games, 1, the bounces go your way, and 2, you force the bounces to go your way. You force those opportunities to go in your favor by working hard, by doing the little things right. And the way Maroon went to the net in that spot, it was a guy creating that chance for his team and putting the puck in the net. Boston up next. All right. Here's another one. Here's another big test. The big tests don't stop. It's one after another right now with this team. They beat the Capitals, which was great. They gave a good effort against Tampa Bay. You shouldn't crush the team. It just feels different based off of the 4-1 road trip that they just came off of. But you can't crush the team for this type of effort. They are a fantastic team on the other side for a reason. You tip your cap, you move on to the next one. It's just hard to swallow them right now because of the standings and because the season's getting later. But you can't crush them for the effort, and we'll see how they bounce back against the Boston Bruins next. We know that they have goal scorers. We know what Pasta's doing. We know what Brad Marchand's doing. We know what that team brings to the table, all right? They are consistent, and they have the same type of team every single year. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be another one, and I talked about the hatred in this game. Yeah, it's going to be probably even more hatred if it keeps up with that type of physicality, because there is a background against the Boston Bruins. There is a hatred between the cities more than there is against a squad in Florida that doesn't have, that much of a past against the Fly Guys. So with that being said, let me hear your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I will see you next time.